Okay, this is part 3, episode 3. I don't know what I've been calling this with my dad, Raymond DeVito. We're using this life story kit of cards. And this is June 16th, 2004. It's Father's Day. It's also Missy's birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Missy.
All right, card 1, Pop. So this one's, actually, I'm going to do this first. What does your father do for a living?
Oh, my father worked during World War II. He worked at Westinghouse. He worked at the plant in Homewood, and I think that's why they rented a home in Homewood. It was close to where he worked, and he could walk to work. And that's, of course, where I was born. I was born on, in 1938, but I was born at home. I recently checked, and the house is no longer there, but there's an adjoining house that is there. Apparently it must have burned down, and I could see what it was like, and it's not an extravagant place to live.
Well, humble.
But that's where I was born.
Probably better back then too, right?
Yep.
All right. Do you have any siblings? I know you do, but this is just a question. If so, what are their names and ages? So
I have a lot of siblings. I had 2 brothers, younger than me. Albert, who unfortunately died at age 48 of a heart attack, and Paul, who was 15 years younger, and he died also in 1961.
no, he was 61. He died in 2015.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know what you meant.
I meant he was 61.
Yeah. Have your siblings started their own families?
I'm sorry.
Your siblings, do they have their own families?
Yeah. Albert has 2 sons, Mark and Albert. He and I just saw them recently.
Yeah.
And Paul has 1 son, Zachary.
Yep. And their wives are still alive, and
Yes, they are.
And Al and Mark have wives and families too. Zach's still single, but he's younger.
Right.
So, All right. I know you wanted to talk about this one because you were just thinking about it. Who were your closest friends growing up?
All right. Well, all of my high school friends, and I had 4 or 5 of them, and we hung out and were very close. However, they are all gone. None of them are surviving.
So that's Dawn, Ted.
Dawn, Bill, John, and Ted. And they're all dead now, and I'm the sole survivor there, as I am in my family. But I do have one very good friend who is still alive, not too many other, but I just talked to him recently, and his name is Barry Hopkins. I met Barry the freshman year at Pitt, about the same time I met Jackie, the love of my life. And he was from Wilkinsburg, and we became pals. One of the things we did, we're not too proud of, but we did it. There was a mandatory class at Pitt that you had to attend where you learned all the chants and songs and history of the university. Well, Barry and I, after a few boring times, decided we didn't need that. And so we went and shot pool. And that's where we became good friends. And we hung out together and so on. Now Barry, at the time, was going with someone that he knew in Wilkinsburg, a younger girl, and but he was looking for a new romance, I guess, or whatever, and he ended up being attracted to Ginny, and Ginny was a freshman at Pitt also. Now Ginny and Jackie were friends, and I remember both of them were in a swimming class, synchronized swim class. And Barry and I would wait for them after class, and both of them would come with their heads soaking wet after swimming. Anyhow, Barry married Jenny, and he moved away, and he was in the South for a long time, and eventually ended up in Florida. He married Jenny. They had 4 children, and they had a son, and I just found out from Barry that his son died. His son was apparently badly influenced by music and drugs and so on, and he died just recently. He also had triplets, he and Jenny. And they came and visited us once. Pete, you may remember.
I remember,
that.
yeah. I was little.
And they were nice people. Well, Barry and Jenny divorced. And the reason why, Barry said they're still close today, even though the divorce happened, and they just became separate. Ginny was intensely interested in dogs and religion, and Barry was not quite as religious as Ginny, and I'm sure that was a factor.
All right.
Well, anyhow, they divorced, and Barry remarried his old girlfriend from Wilkinsburg, who she divorced, and they remarried, and they've been together for quite a while now in Florida.
Good deal.
Barry was in my wedding. He is the last survivor of that group too. All of my brothers, cousins, and so on that were in my wedding party are deceased now.
Right.
Barry is the lone survivor.
And with Uncle Jim recently dying.
And with Jim dying, he
all
was
Mom's
the
family
final.
too.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So I needed to talk to Barry, and I did, and it was wonderful. We relived a lot of youthful 18-year-old experiences, right, and others.
So
he invited Karen and I told him Karen was my traveling companion, and he said we're invited to come to stay, not in the summer, but in the winter. He said it's too damn hot in the summer there, but that we're welcome to come anytime in the winter. So
good deal.
We'll think about it.
Good deal. So you used to talk about Penn Hills back in the day, and it was nothing but farms when you moved there.
That's correct.
What did you do? I mean, I know your one story about the fat man. You can tell that story if you want.
You mean as teenagers?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want me to tell the fat man story?
Yeah.
I was out every night with my buddies, and I had mentioned them before, and we were out almost every single night, and the only reason why I got away with that is my grades were good.
Mm-hmm.
But there wasn't a lot to do. we would play basketball down in Rosedale at the basketball court occasionally, and it was an outdoor court, of course, and we would do things like look for entertainment. One of the things we did was in looking for adventure, we would search for things to do, and we found the Fat Man. The Fat Man was a huge company that took animal fat in dump trucks, believe it or not, and they would make products out of it, I guess soap and things like that. And it occasionally would find the Fat Man, and he'd be dripping fat out of the back of the truck. So that was our adventure. We would follow the Fat Man. As I said, there wasn't a lot to do in Penn Hills back then.
Right. Crazy, the Fat Man. So as you were growing up, were there any historical events that impacted your childhood?
Oh.
Obviously, when you were little, you had World War II and...
Well, yeah. Obviously, I lived through World War II.
And then Korea when you were
and I knew
teenager.
all about evil Hitler and the Japanese and all of that. And I do remember when we finally won in World War II, I was living in East Liberty in Winslow Street. And what we did, we decorated our bikes with red, white, and blue crepe in the spokes. And that's how we celebrated the victory over Japan. I also recall our neighbor, Mrs. Kennedy, who lived in the house next door. She was up on the balcony, and one day she came and said, "Did you hear the news?" And of course we didn't. She said, "Franklin Roosevelt died." So I remember that too.
Right.
That was quite a surprising thing.
Right.
I also remember, of course, when Kennedy was shot. And one of the regrets of my life was I didn't go to his funeral. I should have, as a history major. I should have gone to D.C., but I didn't. And I wish I had. But that was a very traumatic experience for our whole country then.
And your mom really liked him, right? Just because
My
of the
mom
Catholic,
loved him. Oh,
the Catholic part, and
yeah, you bet.
Still our only Catholic president,
Yep.
right? Yeah. All right. So from Homewood to East Liberty to Penn Hills, and your dad built that house on Rhode Island Road.
Yes, he did. He built the house. I don't know if I said this before, but he built it right at the end of World War II because we were living on Winslow Street, and the person that owned the house told us that, told my dad and mom that he would like us to move because his brother was coming out of the Navy and he needed a place to stay. So my dad had to hustle and get going somewhere, and that's when he decided to build a house. Now, my dad never had much money, and so he couldn't get a mortgage. But Caesar Arnone, my godfather, was influential and got a mortgage for him from a bank in Brentwood. And my dad, with a small mortgage, was able to build the house on Rhode Island Road. I remember it clearly because while living in the city, my dad would go at night. He'd be working at Westinghouse. He'd go at night and he'd do all the lumber and contract, everything except the electrical and plumbing. And he did it without any light source. So when it got dark, he would be using a kerosene lamp. And the lumber, I'll never forget this. He used used lumber because it was cheaper.
Right.
It had nails in it and it had imperfections, but it didn't matter. He used that and was able to put together the house. So we moved in to the house before it was completely finished, and we lived in the basement for a while until it was finished. But that was because of, we had to move and so forth.
Right.
But that's how we got to Penn Hills.
All right. Good deal. Well, I'm going to stop there for today.
That's good.
We want to go eat.
That's a good idea.
That's always why we stop, because we want to go eat
Right,
something.
you bet.
All right. Thanks, Pop.
All right, thank you.